Good evening, everyone. So, my name is Dan Sanchez. I am a physician, as Dr. Cornwell mentioned. I am lifestyle physician, and I have been in Uchee Pines for around 10 years already. And first of all, I would like to say thank you for all the assistance, for all the attention that we have been receiving since yesterday. Thank you, Dr. Daria and Miss Sister Judith for all the attentions, also Pastor Omar. So we are so blessed to be in here from Uchee Pines, and we are going to be having meetings, workshops, consultations over the weekend. So take advantage of everything and take advantage of every lecture. So God bless you. So my name is Dr. Sanchez. And first time in Jamaica, originally from Mexico.
Good afternoon. My name is Jai Hewlett from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, so greetings. But they call me a traitor because I always wanted to be in Jamaica. I still love St. Croix, but praise God for Jamaica. But I'm the education director at Uchee Pines Institute, part of the training and education of the trainees, of those who come there for advanced training. And I just want to go through a little bit of the kind of about Uchee Pines. And the two individuals on your left, that would be your left when you see them, are Dr. Agatha and Calvin Thrash. And they began and founded Uchee Pines. Yep, thank you. So they were two doctors who started to realize within their practices that there's a different way of bringing about healing, something better that they can offer for the individuals. And they started small and real humble, actually, in their house. They started to sell products, change people's nutrition, and they saw lifestyle diseases change, better outcomes. So they took the knowledge that they received as they went to other places and they learned. They created, therefore, Uchee Pines Institute, as you can see on the bottom. And that's the center that a lot of individuals come for 17-day training. And we have people from Jamaica, from Bahamas, different islands, different part of the United States. And this is located in Seal, Alabama. You can see that the red dot there, right next to Georgia. And so that's where it's located. That's just an aerial view of the Lifestyle Center. And we have the doctor's wing there, medical team, the lifestyle counselors, that's kind of in the back. Kitchen on the left wing. So we're really set up, and you're going to see some of those internal things. As you enter into Uchee Pines, this overhang, that's the front entrance. And that's the front desk inside. So we have a bookstore in there that sell different books in different topics. Front desk for all your help and needs. This is the living room area. So when individuals come for healing, we try to make it as home-like as possible. There's nothing like going home for healing. So we try to make it as home-like as possible. So you see chairs, recliners, lamps set up for reading. So you'll see that through the halls. And this is our demonstration room. So the chairs are facing a television where we do our presentations and we teach the different things. Some of those things you will learn over the weekend, so you don't want to miss that. Diabetes, the importance of sleep, hypertension, kidney disease. We just teach many different topics because a big part of healing is education. When a man understands and knows better, he can do better. So a big part of that is not only the theoretical, but right behind there, you're going to see those little tables. We have hands-on cooking where the individuals can learn how to make their own bread, how to make their own food. It's one thing to tell you about better living, and it's another thing to show you better living. So that's exactly what we do there. We let them get their hands dirty and how to make these different dishes, and so they really love that. That's just a closer view. And this is the gym, just different exercise machines. You see there the little trampoline there. That's more for lymphatic drainage. So we have just different machines used for different muscles, and it's geared towards their situation, whatever they're dealing with, so they can get a better personal experience, basically. These are one of our tubs. A huge part of Uchee Pines is hydrotherapy. It's amazing what you can do with water. When water hits your body, there's a physiological response. And depending on that temperature is depending on what it does in the body. So water applied to the body always has a response. So what we do is hydrotherapy. We have different ones you'll learn about, and if you want to learn more, come tomorrow. Praise the Lord. At 5 to 6, we're going to go through hydrotherapy demonstrations, what you can do for different ailments, and I know you're going to want to come for that. This is our Country Life Health Food Store. It looks small. It's actually a small little store in comparison to other stores around, but there are thousands of items there, from herbs to books to pamphlets to a restaurant where we have a very good dining. Individuals come there. And just a little quick story, there was a guy who always came there, and they were very, of course, as normal, nice to them, showing them Christ-likeness in all their endeavors. And this individual, we found out later on, was actually a news reporter. And he ended up doing a big news report on the store. And after that, it became a hit like that. But what if we didn't treat them Christ-like? We would have been on the news for a different reason. So praise the Lord. That's our salad bar. This is one of is a very famous. People come many times just for the salad bar. You can see those greens. So this is just inside the store, these tables. And these are some of the items that is for sale. Uchee Pines, if you go on ucheepines.org, you can see we have different sermons, health lectures, so feel free to go on there. And there's also a health counseling sheet, free health counseling sheet with hundreds of different things, high blood pressure, diabetes, just free outline. You can print them, you can look on them online, free resource for you when you go on there. And that's the website. That's how it's going to look when you go on ucheepines.org. And you're going to see there seminars, event, and you click health, and you're going to see you have options to get to the counseling sheets. So that's Uchee Pines. We have a training program. Part of the training program, you learn hydrotherapy, natural remedies. We go into anatomy and physiology. So you get the basic foundation as a lifestyle educator, and then you can move on to become a lifestyle counselor, where you get to go one-on-one with the guests. And the reason a lot of individuals, especially guests, love to come to Uchee Pines is because then you have one-on-one with your doctor. You know how it feels when you have a whole hour with your doctor and you can ask questions? Or you don't know how that feels, right? So, but the beauty of it is not against doctors, but the point is, because of how it's set up, they do have to keep going. So Uchee Pines is created in a way so you can get the one-on-one experience, which is tailored specifically for you and a lifestyle counselor. But many times individuals say, I wish I could take my counselor home with me. We have to remind them that they have 66 counselors in a book called the Bible. So many times the Word of God is going to be the strength and the help. And this is what we want to train people to understand, that yes, human intervention, there are people there for you, but God is there for you. And He's the one that will carry you through. So that's Uchee Pines. I don't know if there's any quick questions or anything that anybody wants to know a little more of. We're willing to answer. Yes, my sister. Yep, so the question was in the training program, is it virtual or physical? So it is physical. We used to have a virtual, and we're working on trying to get that back again. So if you wanted to do a virtual studies, online studies, you can go Wildwood. Health Evangelism has a virtual online. Until that we get one, we do direct people for virtual online there. Wildwood Center of Evangelism. Yes, my brother. A jump drive? I do not for giving out like that. Maybe for some of these, you mean specifically with this? Well, this is all online. So you could just see it. I don't have a jump drive like that though. Yes, ma'am. Any others before we move on? Okay, so I'm gonna assume your silence means we're going forward. You have any last? No? Okay. Well, thank you so much. We're going to move on now to our demonstration. So I pray that it's a blessing. I'm just going to close out of this.
Probably even I can use your computer, so we don't have to disconnect the computer.
Okay.
And I can put it on my flash drive.
So nothing's open, but it does that, so you can take it. Yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about herbs. Is there a mobile one? Or do I have? Yeah, please. I move a lot. Testing. It's on. Can you hear me? Yeah, so amen. So we're going to look at herbal remedies. Anybody ever use herbs before? I know in Jamaica every hand should go up. So don't play shy. Herbal remedies, praise the Lord. God has given us the herbs. Now, there are some general safety and guidelines I do want to just bring about to you. So you got to know the action and properties of the herbs. Now, it sounds good to just pick a herb and start drinking the tea, but you do got to know, how does this interact with my body? How does that interact if I have medications? So you want to really do your research in the specific herb that you're doing. While the Lord has blessed us with herbs, he also blessed us with a brain to be intelligent in everything that we do, lest we become, we mess ourselves up, really. So you want to know the correct dosage and administration. And I'm going to share with you some of those principles. And any adverse side effects, whether there's allergies, drug interactions, if you're pregnant, there's a lot of herbs you want to be careful of when you're pregnant or breastfeeding. So things like that. So just do your research on those specific herbs, or ask somebody who is knowledgeable about it. And anytime you're introducing herbs into your regimen, into your plan, work with your doctor. This isn't a time to go against or to rebel or to say no doctor. This is a time to cooperate together and say, if a doctor really loves you, he wants what? He wants the best for you. He wants you to be promoted. So just work with your doctor when you're introducing new things. And I love this opening scripture. It says, he causeth the grass to grow for the cattle and herbs for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. Did you know that herbs are meant to be your servants? Did you know you have servants? And when you have a servant, you know what you do? You say, excuse me, come here, please. So how we use the herb, we command the herbs to do the work in us. They're our servants. They were meant to serve us. So when God created herbs, he was thinking of you. That's how special you are, if nobody told you. And I love this definition of disease. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In the case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Now, who believe in laws? Is there anybody who says, no, I don't believe in laws? You don't believe in laws. Because if you don't believe in the law of gravity doesn't ask you if you believe it or not. The law of gravity, if you try it and you step down a building, the law of gravity will remind you there's a law. And your body will remind you that there are laws. And when those laws are violated, your body responds and it speaks to you. Symptoms is the body's speech. And it's saying there is something wrong, there is something wrong. So we have to be careful doing what? Shh. Can you imagine a man is warning you and you silence them? So yes, symptoms come, but symptoms are actually letting you know. It's like your indicator. We don't like to see we have a low tire pressure, but if we don't know, you're going to continue driving on a lower tire. You're going to pay more gas and all the other problems. So in case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed. Wrong habits corrected. Then, notice what it says that. After you've done these things, then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. So the first thing for me to do when I have an ailment is not to look for the herb. Is not to look for the remedy. The first thing I should do is ascertain what caused the problem. How did I get here in the first place? Lest you have the pipe running, overflowing over the sink, and you stay there mopping all day long. But what's the smart thing to do? Turn off the faucet first. So that's what it says. Ascertain the cause, lest you're chasing health. Unhealthful conditions change, and then you follow the system. So we're going to talk about different herbs. Infusion, and that's just herbs that you steep in hot water. Decoction, that's the herbs that you simmer or boil. Tinctures, we're going to actually make a tincture today. A glycerite, we're going to make that also, so we'll go deeper in that. When it says herbs infused into menstruum, a menstruum is whatever you use, whether it's alcohol or vinegar or water. That's a menstruum that takes in or extracts the properties of the herb. Now, when I say alcohol, let me be clear. Don't say this brother is up here teaching you to go drink alcohol. We're going to talk about how to use it specifically. Concentrated herbs, herbal extracts, that is freeze-dried. We won't really get into those. Syrup, these are really good, especially for children, and we'll get into this when we talk about natural remedies on Thursday. Herbs infused in syrup, usually honey for children. Oil infusion, we will make an oil infusion today. and liniment, which we will make a liniment today. And poultice is basically macerated herbs that you can put directly on the skin, and we're going to do that on Thursday. So we'll get deeper into some of these things. You have essential oils. Anybody ever used essential oils before? Yep. Okay, so praise the Lord. You see that? Yes, you were like a choir. Anybody use suppositories? Don't be ashamed. Suppositories, yeah? You see, the yes went a little less. But praise God for suppositories. When we have hemorrhoids, and there are things we can do to help. But also prevention, eating more fiber, those things are important. Ointment, salves, and balm, we're going to just talk about that, and herbal baths. You can soak body parts in baths for herbs. Not just internally, but externally, you can use them. So making tea, now when we make tea, we pour the hot water over it, and that's good, but the correct dosage, the general principle of dosage, is 1 teaspoon for every cup of water. So that's a general dosage, 1 teaspoon for every cup of water. And if it's a leaf or the blossom or the flower, you want to steep it for 30 minutes. Sometimes you do it for 10 minutes, and you do get some properties, but you want to steep it for at least 30 minutes. Some herbs doesn't need as long a steeping time, but in general, 30 minutes is a good time to steep your herbs. Powder you only steep for 15 minutes because it's already so broken down. It doesn't take that much to extract. Barks and roots and seeds, because they're harder, you need to simmer them for 20 minutes. So that's 1 teaspoon per cup. For 20 minutes, you're simmering it. You bring it to a boil, you put it on low and let it simmer. Padiarco is just a special herb that's especially good for cancer. And that one, you specifically just boil gently for 10 minutes, and then you let it steep for 20. So that's how you want to treat Padiarco. That's just a special one. So in general, 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon for every 8 ounce or 1 cup of water. And you just let that steep. You can strain it, and then, of course, you just drink it. Herbal decoction, this is roots, barks, twigs, things like ginger. I know you drink ginger tea. So you really want to gently boil your ginger. You can put some water, hot water, boiling water over it, but you don't extract as much of the properties. You want to simmer it, just as we talked about with bark and roots. So just remember that principle. Sometimes we just put that little water over ginger and we think we have a nice ginger tea, but you're not getting as much as you could if you just gently boiled it for 20 minutes. Because it's so hard, it takes more to extract the properties out of it. And this is a herbal compress. When we talk about hydrotherapy, we'll talk about this. Basically, you can make the same tea that we talked about. You dip your cloth or a cloth, a t-shirt, get creative. You dip your cloth in there, and you can put that directly on a local body part that's in need, depending on what tea you make. Now, we'll talk about that in hydrotherapy. So for making poultices, we'll talk about this too. We just want to basically crush the poultice. We're going to talk about cabbage and potatoes and turmeric, things you can use as a poultice right on the body to help with different tissue-related problems, muscle-related problems, pain. We're going to talk about all of that and how to make those. And when this is just store-bought herbs. So what you want to look for when you're buying herbs, you want a bright color. They should still smell amazing. I was by a sister in Harmony, and she opened up one of them, and I didn't have to guess if that was a good herb. That thing smelled amazing, especially that lavender. It kept in an airtight container, as much as possible out of sunlight. It's good to have a pick date or just to know when it was picked so it's not too old. And avoid herbs out of the country. When you do herbs locally, it's really good. Not only you can't get herbs outside the country, but a lot of the things that people are suffering with, a lot of times it's in their own backyard. So these are some places online in the United States. This is all online if you are interested. But I also know that I'm in Jamaica. So some of these you have to call and make sure. But Harmony, I know for sure because I've been there myself. That one is open, not too far from here at all, a few minutes. Holistic Health Center and Proactive Lifestyle. So those are some places you can get your herbs. Another place you could get your herbs is probably in your yard, depending on what you're growing, right? What's in there. So what we're going to do, we're going to move on and I'm going to just show you an extract. And we're going to make an immune extract. So in other words, let's say it's sick season, I want to boost my immune system. What will I do to help my immune system? Adan, do you mind just holding this mic for me as I go? So what we're going to do, I'm just going to list you some of these herbs. Now, you can use whatever jar, just an empty jar. A glass is best for me. You could use a bigger one. And what we're going to do is Some of the herbs I picked for the immune, I'm going to name one that you can get, you might have to buy, but it's echinacea. You've heard of echinacea? Yep, so echinacea is an awesome herb. You want to include, it's beautiful for your killer cells, the T cells in the body. It's good for just general immune support. It helps against like a lot of mucus buildup in the body also, so I have to put echinacea. What I love about making this, by the way, is you don't need measurements. It's what do you want the most of. In other words, because we're making a glycerite, which one do you want more of that herb of? So like echinacea, I'm just going to pour a little bit of echinacea in there. I'm not measuring. I'm just putting some here. Can you click the next button there? And this is just how you make it. That's a picture of how the process of making it. And then the others, I do ones that's all here in Jamaica that you're familiar with, like your guava leaf. You know the guava? Yep. So this is guava leaf, not making this hard, right? So we just put in some guava leaf in here also. Now, as much as you can, you want to dry them. I'm sure you could go by a neighbor, by your yard. I see y'all have fruit trees growing out of concrete. Jamaica is blessed. So so you just have your guava leaf. I just put some in there. We have soursop leaf. Just because of the size of the jar, I'm not going to do the soursop leaf just because of the size of the jar, but I want you to know you can put the soursop leaf in there, crumble it, you can break it up so it can fit better. One of my favorite is fever grass. All right then, praise the Lord. So we just want to do some of that too. We're just putting it in there. Now, how I'm doing it, I'm a stuffer, so I'm just going to stuff it, and you can do it different ways. So the fever grass, what you can do is ahead of time just cut them up like really small so it can fit in your jar. So I'm just doing this for demonstration so you can see. And then this one is tamarind leaf. Anybody know tamarind leaf? Okay. So can you get these? Okay then. So you can make an immune booster. So you just pour your tamarind leaf, not to be confused with moringa. You put your tamarind leaves in there, and I'm going to put a good amount of tamarind leaves. Tamarind leaves are really good for malaria. It actually helps inhibit the growth that happens when people catch malaria. So I'm just going to put my tamarind leaves, and just like that, it doesn't take much. So what I'm going to do now, I had my kettle. Oh, thank you. So I put the herb. Now, that's whatever herb of choice. Is that simple? So if you're doing an immune, you just put the immune herbs. Does that make sense? And you see, there's no measurement. I just know I want to put a little bit more tamarind leaves and guava leaves because they have very strong immune boosting properties. If you make a tea out of guava leaves, by the way, it's really good for like cuts and wounds to help cleanse it. All that you do, as always, you go and you check up with your doctor. Is it healing if you're using it? You stay in communication. What I'm going to do next is just take boiling water. This is boiling water. Because these are pretty dry, whenever you use dried herbs, you want to kind of rehydrate them and also extract some of the properties through the heat. So I'm taking boiling water, and I'm just putting the boiling water right over there. And the water is only going to go as high as the herbs. So don't miss that. The boiling water only goes as high as the herbs. This one doesn't want to pretend that the lemongrass is still in there. So that's all you do basically. And then you want to get yourself some vegetable glycerin. So this is vegetable glycerin. This is one method. I'm going to show you different ones, but this is vegetable glycerin. And what you want to do is fill up the remainder of the jar with the vegetable glycerin. So basically, you have your herbs. You fill up the hot water just to the top of where the herbs stop, and then you just fill up the rest with your vegetable glycerin. Now, you really want as least amount of space as possible. You don't want a lot of air in there. You want to do this dried because when you use fresh herbs, you're going to realize they can go rancid easier because of the water content. So you want to do dried herbs as much as possible. And then now, I cap. So who can do this? You see how simple it is? So now you have three options. In order to get this to be a tincture, one, I shake it. Yep, I want it to make sure it's mixed. Now, you can put this in a cool, dry place for 2 to 4 weeks. That's one option. 2 to 4 weeks, you put it in a cool, dry place. Every day you shake it. A second option, let's say, hey, I need this thing sooner than 2 to 4 weeks. That's a long time. So you can use, I'm going to show you two other ones. You can use a crock pot, or really, and I'm going to show you a second one if you don't have a crock pot, so don't worry. But I want to make sure you have everything you have, so you have options. So you use a crock pot, and what you want to do is you put a towel down. So just, let's say this is your towel. You want to put a towel down in your crock pot, and you take your herb, make sure it's closed, it's labeled, and you just put it in there, and you pour your water. You're going to fill it up as much as you can to the herb. Even if this is a bigger jar and it's sticking out, let's say it was a big jar sticking out like that, you still just fill it up all the way, and that still work. So you fill this up and you turn it to warm setting. If you don't have a warm setting, you can do low. Warm is best because you don't want to too much heat your herbs. But you can do a low setting, and you leave it there for 3 days. And you come once a day, and you shake it, and you put it back. Come the second day, shake it, put it back. Third day, shake it, put it back. On the fourth day, so let's say we've done this now. So this is the fourth day. We just come. I would open up my bottle. You want to get a cheesecloth. Now, we do have a strainer, and you can use a strainer, but you really want this to be without any herb as possible so you can last long. When you do this, this can last 6 months to a year. So you want to make sure that you do it where there's no herbs in there, or else you have more chance of it going rancid. So what I would do is I would just get my cloth, just like this, right? You can just pour it like this if you want. And I'm just pouring this out a little bit at a time. And then in my new container that's labeled, I'm squeezing that in. I'm squeezing that, I'm pressing it. You can use a spoon, you just want to press it. It's going to seep through, and then it's going to go on your herb, okay? So you just want to press it. So I'm just covering, and I'm pressing the herb using a wooden spoon. I'm just pressing it, and it's going to seep through. And then you're going to find there's a lot of juice. There's more juice than you think. You want to really press it down. So that's how you would do that. But let's say you say, Jai, I don't have time for 3 or 4 days. I need it tomorrow. Then your other option is, same process, but now I go on my stove. And what I can do is, I can have my pot, and, yeah, should have had a pot, but that's okay. I could have my pot. Can you imagine? Can we be like children for the kingdom of heaven's sake? So imagine you have a pot, and you put, of course, your towel again on the bottom, and you're just putting the pot to simmer. It's like you're making a double boiler. So you put it in there, and when you do it like this, you just turn on the heat. Of course, you're in the pot with something on the bottom. When you put it on, with water. Of course, water's in the pot, so when you turn on the heat, the water is starting to boil, gentle simmer, and you leave that on for 3 hours. When you leave that on for 3 hours, that heat is going to more quickly extract the properties of this. So you get your immune booster in 3 hours instead of 3 days, or instead of 2 to 4 weeks. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's how you do it. And you just made yourself an awesome immune booster with the things that is around you by going to the store and getting these things. And this one way these are the 3 methods of doing that. Again, if you have time, like I feel okay right now, but you want to start the process, just do this and put it aside for 2 to 4 weeks. And then when it's ready, you strain it, and you have yourself an immune booster. When you do it, and I think I have the thing to show you. No, I don't have it. That's okay. So basically, when you do this is concentrated. It's a concentrated form. So all you're going to do is just take about, if you have droppers, or if you want to do by teaspoons, you just need about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, depending on what you're dealing with. And you can do that 2 to 3 times a day. So it is concentrated. So 2 to 3 times a day, a teaspoon to a tablespoon. And that's how you would do your immune booster. And I just made this in this short time, so I know you can do it. Right? So we're going to put that aside, and then we're going to move to the next one. So this next one is a pain salve. This is what you want to do for a pain, or I guess oil extract is more the better term. And this one, we are going to use, it's a very similar process. All these are very similar. So you will use anybody who dealt with turmeric knows what goes on. So I'm just putting cut up turmeric, nothing fancy, right inside of there. Right? So I cut up my turmeric. You can cut it up even more. The more you cut it up is the more those properties would extract. Right here I have mint. This is just peppermint, spearmint. You just want a mint in the mint family. Mint, when it goes upon the skin, it creates a heat and it helps circulation in that area. So I'm just going to put some mint. And because we have a good amount, I'm actually going to put a good amount of mint in there. Okay, so this next one is called white willow bark, and this is actually where a derivative of how they make aspirin is actually the white willow bark, right? So we're going to put it in there. Now, I'm doing this for demonstration, but I'm going to give you this. This is powder. It's best not to use powder in these because when you strain it, the powder is hard to get out. The powder is so fine, it might stay in there. But because this is going to be topical, it's not internal, what we're about to do. Because it's topical, I don't mind using the powder. So, but it's best to use the full herb. So I will put the powder. Maybe I should scoop the powder. So I'm just putting some of that powder in there. Now, because I know this is such a powerful anti-inflammatory, I really want to make sure I pour that in there. So this is going to be a big part of what helps with that healing. And then the next one is cayenne pepper. I know you know about cayenne pepper in Jamaica, right? So cayenne pepper, now you have different IU of cayenne pepper. This is a 40,000. Really, when you're doing this, you want about a 90,000 and above, just because of that intensity of heat. That doesn't mean you can't use this, but just know, you got to know what's the dosage that you have. So this one is 40,000. And because it's a little lower, I'm going to add a little bit more. Normally, I just do like a teaspoon, but I will probably do a little bit more. Probably just like 2 teaspoons, nothing much more. Now, when you add the cayenne pepper, just keep in mind, depending on how much you put, you'll feel it. So if you want to feel alive, where did I put is this one? So that's it. You see how that is? And you can think of a different one, another beautiful one. I just feel horrible opening this package, but you could just do this. This is Jamaican dogwood. This is from your island. So this is Jamaican dogwood. You would put this in here. This is an awesome pain relief medicine, an herb, right? One of the strongest that is in the herbal kingdom is Jamaican dogwood, white willow bark, and using something called kava kava. But kava kava, you just got to be careful. Kava kava is also used for people who needs to be calm mentally, and some individuals, it could really be a lot for them. So you use small portions if you're going to do kava kava. You want to use that intelligently and make sure you know what you're doing with that one. But Jamaican dogwood and the rest of these, they're awesome to use. And all I would do is pour my Jamaican dogwood. Remember, we're not measuring. And then you get your olive oil. And then I just pour my olive oil. And this time what I'm doing is I'm pouring my olive oil all the way to the top. Okay? A little bit, not as much air, but you do got to let it shake, so you don't have to go exactly to the top. So that's it. And I get my cover. And then what do I do next? I shake it. Yep. Make sure you cover it good or else that won't end well. So you shake it, and once you shake it, you have the same options. Everything we've shown you, the same thing. The only difference is this one, you can put 2 to 4 weeks and let it sit, shaking every day. But the good thing with the topical one is it doesn't take much. If you put it in a crock pot like we talked about, you just put it in there for 24 hours, just one day, and this is ready to be used. If you're doing the stove method, same thing, you could do it for the 3 hours. And that's, can you click on the next one? I'm sorry. I just want you to see it in case you want to take a picture. Yeah. So if you do the crock pot, you could just do it for 24 hours. And you could use any oil, by the way. It doesn't have to be olive oil. It could be coconut oil. It could be castor oil. It could be any of those oils. And you can use the black castor oil or the white castor oil. Any of those will work perfect. It's going to extract. So you can do a day there, or you can do the 3 hours like we talked about, and you have your oil extract. Now you're going to strain this. Remember, you're shaking every day. Except for the 24 hours, you just leave it in there. But you shake it before you strain it, and then you have a topical oil that you can rub over any inflamed area, inflamed joints, inflamed tissue. So this is right there. Okay? So that's how you do the oil. Thank you. And then the last one we're going to just demonstrate for you is a liniment. And a liniment is usually using alcohol. Thank you. Yep. Oh, well, yeah, thanks. See, this is why we have those. So I would mention, if you wanted to make a salve, you got to get beeswax. And in order to do that, you do the same method. You put this, let's say this was finished and you strained it really well. You put this on the stove. You can put it, people use double boiler, but if you get a pot on the stove, in this case, you actually don't need to put something on the bottom because you're going to have it on low and keep the jar open. If you close the jar for what I'm about to tell you, it's going to crack. Keep the jar open and you can leave it right on the stove and it will not crack. And then you keep that open specifically for the extraction of the oil, and then you put your beeswax, right? A quarter of beeswax for every part that you put here, or every cup that you put here. And I may have it, yep. So every infused oil, so if I have a cup of infused oil, I need a quarter beeswax put in there. And it's gonna stay in a liquid form, and you're gonna think, oh, but it should get hard because beeswax is supposed to make it hard. You gotta take it off the stove, leave it open and let it cool, and then you're gonna be able to it's gonna harden, and then you have a salve you can just put on. But if you don't want to do the salve, you can just do the ointment. The good thing with the beeswax acts as a preservative also, and it also has anti-inflammatory properties. So it's good to add the beeswax. So that's how you do the oil. And then the last one we're going to do is the liniment, and you can, thank you. Oh, you know you have this, brother, I'm sorry. You just want to. So the next one we're going to do is a liniment. Liniment is a topical preparation. So usually you use alcohol. We're going to do rubbing alcohol. Oh yeah, I know my father-in-law. He's a Jamaican, and he always rubbing this thing. If he sees this, he's gonna say, yeah, yep. So all you want to do basically is you want about a cup of this alcohol. And the good thing with the mason jars is it tells you, but you don't have to use specifically a mason jar. And you just want a cup of it, right? So, but because I'm not going to do a full amount, I just want to kind of show you. I'm not going to do a full cup, but you would do a cup, and then you would do a quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I don't have it there, but about a quarter teaspoon to a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. But because I'm doing such a little bit amount, I'm just going to use about a quarter teaspoon of the cayenne pepper. Now, the cayenne pepper, when it's strong, by the way, you open that and it's powdery, you're going to start sneezing. It's extremely strong. So I have my cayenne pepper, and that's all I'm putting in there. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you don't need a lot. Don't fool yourself and say, I'm a Jamaican, I could handle heat. You do not need a lot. So, and all you do is you cover that, and then what do you think you do next? Man, y'all are experts. So that's it. You just shake it. Has anything been hard so far? No. You just shake it. That's exactly it. So now what you want to do is let this sit for 3 weeks. However, you can use this immediately. But the longer you let it sit is the stronger it gets. And what's going to happen is you really want to just put it on a small part of your body first, because depending on your heat tolerance and skin sensitivities, some of us may be like, oh, that is soothing. Others will be like some Jamaican words that we ought not to say in the Lord. So we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that you're bringing in the heat, but we don't want to burn the skin. So you're just taking a small amount, maybe a spoon, and you're just dropping it and see, can you handle that heat? So you're putting it on a knee for joint pain. You're putting it on the elbow, on a shoulder for cold shoulder, or locked shoulder, or an achy area or joint. It doesn't matter. You can put this on there, and it's going to help bring circulation. Leviticus 17:11 says, the life of the flesh is in the blood. So what we're doing is we're working with the blood to bring the blood to the area, and so it could bring cleansing. So that's your liniment. Thank you, brother. Yeah, thank you. So those are, I just wanted to show you some of those practical. I'm going to move over here now, and I'm just going to give you some general information on how you can use some different herbs for different ailments, okay? So some I have down, some I don't. Ginger we're not going to get into because we're going to go harder on ginger when we do our natural remedies. How to use ginger for different ailments. We're going to talk about that. But it is a digestive, helps with morning sickness and nausea. It's actually been compared to many drugs and on par, if not better than some, depending on the drug it is, for motion sickness and nausea. I know when I go to St. Croix to go to my twin island, you have to catch a boat that doesn't, it forgets that people are in it, and it goes fast, and especially when it's bumpy, people get sick. And I remember one time having the ginger with me, and people are, they're throwing up, and I'm there sucking on my ginger, and I kid you not, I'm the only one not throwing up. The ginger just keeps everything calm. Now, I still felt a little nauseous because this thing was flying. Literally, it was in the air a couple times. But that's what helps. It's perfect for the digestion. Turmeric, we're going to talk about turmeric too tomorrow for the natural remedies at 7:30 or later in the evening. But these are some of the things that turmeric is good for. And there you see painful menstruation. I do want to give you one thing that you can do. Yeah, everybody got that who taking pictures? Yep. And this is just dosage recommendations. And then I do want to share with you one thing here. So decoctions, if you're making a decoction or infusion, you want 1 to 4 8-ounce cups a day. So it depends on what I'm doing. Do I have a sickness? Or am I just trying to prevent? If I'm just trying to prevent, I don't need 4 cups, right? So if I'm trying to prevent, then I'm just taking my you can take your tincture that you made. You can make the infusion of the tea just like you would some of your other teas, your tamarind leaf, your guava leaf. So extracts or syrups. And when we go tomorrow in our natural remedies, we're going to talk about extracts and syrups, how to make those. Syrups, because we talked about extracts, but how to make syrups. Now, the more weight you have on is the more of the herb you're going to need, right? It's just like alcohol. People who are a little heavier, they can take more alcohol because of the body composition. And it's the same for medications. It's the same for natural remedy, herbal remedies, ingestion. So these are some things to think about for children. Things to remember. Remember the dosage. Remember the weight of the individual. No contraindications. When should I not use certain herbs? Women who are pregnant or nursing mothers. Some of the best people to go to know about the herbs for pregnancy and for mothers. Who do you think? Midwives. Some of those, I don't know if you have, you still have midwives in Jamaica? Okay, so some of those midwives who's been doing this for years, they know they usually are very good to know some of those herbs that does everything. We have a midwife at Uchee Pines, and I mean, she could tell you some scary situations that the Lord has blessed her. She has a knowledge that I have never seen when it comes to midwifery and even with pregnancy complications, and the things she did is from the Lord, definitely. Rest periods. This is not every time, but it says take 1 day off each week. But you don't have to do this every time. But you don't want herbs you weren't meant to live on herbs. Just as you weren't meant to in general. Now there are some people who has to be on certain medications, right? But you weren't meant to live on it, sustain on it. Your food was meant to be your medicine, but you want to do everything intelligently. Right? So after 3 weeks, you take a 3-day rest. If symptoms persist or worsen, you discontinue. If improvement during the rest, then rest another day or 2 and then do less. You don't want your body to depend on it. Your body is already made to heal. All we're doing is assisting nature in the healing process. That's what God created. So if complete recovery is reached, change treatment to a more tonic, nutritive, herbal dietary approach. So if you see you're getting restored from your disease, then you don't necessarily have to keep up the herbs. You want to bring nutrients into the body to build back up what was lost. So that's what you want to do. So let's see. So fenugreek seed, I do want to mention this. You want to keep note of this. This is especially good for menstruation. Ladies that has very, very bad menstruation. This is what they did. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you about the menstruation. That wasn't menstruation. This is for milk production. People like ladies or mothers that can't lactate and they don't have enough, they're not producing enough milk. They did this scenario, basically, a 1/4 teaspoon fenugreek seed. And this is what the fenugreek seed look like. It's pretty hard. You will have to get that from a store, So you can use the other two without the fenugreek, but fenugreek specifically is very good. It's a galactagogue, and it helps with the milk production. So a 1/4 teaspoon fenugreek, 1/4 teaspoon ginger. These are all powders. A 1/16 of a teaspoon turmeric. You put that together. You do that 3 times a day, all right? And in 2 weeks, in the studies that was shown, they actually did a study about this in PubMed. In the studies was shown, in 2 weeks, there was an almost 50% increase in milk. And in 4 weeks, there was a 100% increase in milk in just 4 weeks. So that's something, that was a really good one that you want to use for people who needs to get, having a problem lactating. Before I move on from fenugreek, another thing this is really good for is if you take the fenugreek seeds and you just put that in water, about you could go a teaspoon in about half a cup of water, you let that simmer a little bit, and when it simmers and it cools down, you can take an eyedropper or a spoon or a piece of napkin, you dip it in the water, and it's really good for eye infections. So if you're having eye issues, it's really good to go into the eye. We talked about warnings and safety before. It's extremely, anybody that has inflammation in the eye that has done this, it's always super soothing. It's very soothing. Fenugreek, when you soak fenugreek seeds, it gets jelly-like a jelly consistency. It's really good for diabetes, and you're going to learn more about that as we get into our protocols. So that's one way to use it. Also, you can use it as a poultice. You can grind up or just soak the fenugreek and you put it on an inflamed area, and it helps with the inflammation. When you soak it for a few hours, you're going to see it gets not like jelly, but it gets a little more viscous. Yeah. Another thing here is, there's so much. Ginkgo, anybody ever heard of ginkgo? Ginkgo, yeah. What is it good for? The brain, exactly. You're going to learn about this on Friday evening when we talk about preserving the brain. This is one of the best herbs. I'm going to share with you some more, but one of the best herbs for brain circulation and brain health. But we're going to get on that on Friday. This is cloves, and cloves, it's controversial, but cloves is not the best from a digestive standpoint. Some of the spices is really, it could affect the lining of the stomach. So that's just for your information. Each man has to choose. But if you grind the cloves and into a powder, and you just put a little bit of water, if you have a painful tooth infection, it's going to numb the area. It's a very good way. Now, I want to make sure it's clear. It's not solving the issue, but let's say it happened at night. You can't get to the dentist, which has happened to many of individuals. When you swish around the clove in the mouth, it has an antiseptic, and it has a numbing effect as you swish it around. I was on an island working as I was doing carpentry one day, so the only way to get over is I had to catch a boat, and my tooth started having a pain like I've never felt before. And I went into the guy's cabinets, and I'm looking all over, and I saw he had cloves. So I just mashed a clove with a mortar. They had one of those. I just break it up, put a little bit of water, swish it around. For a minute or two, I'm just swishing. And then I spit that out, and I swish again. And then it just numbed it. And for the rest of that day, this happened in the afternoon, a little after lunch. For the rest of the day until I left, about 4.5 hours later, I was still without pain. So this is something that is a really good one. You can use the essential oil, but the essential oil tastes horrible. I wouldn't do it. You could do it, and it does numb, but I don't like the feeling. The powder does better to me. And of course, lavender for peaceful sleep and calming. You can do the same thing that we did over there. If you pour the lavender and lemon balm and another herb called ochtra, if you put those together and you just let that go in an oil or the extraction, rubbing it on the bottom of the feet is an awesome way to relax the entire body, right? And of course, the famous Jamaican cerasee. Everybody know about cerasee? What's cerasee good for? Everybody say everything. That's what I heard since I came. Everything. But it's an awesome way to cleanse the blood. I first tasted cerasee when I was in Florida, and when I tasted, I said, this thing is bitter. So I poured some honey, and guess what happened? The honey didn't do anything. So I poured more honey, and the honey didn't do anything. Then I said, you know what? I just wonder, how much honey will it take to take the bitterness out of cerasee? I didn't find the answer. So I give cerasee to everybody. But it is an awesome herb. And of course, ginger is another good one to use. One that you have to have for good digestion. This is one of the best for digestions. This has been compared to some PPIs, proton pump inhibitors, that helps, things like acid reflux and other issues in the digestive system. This has been on par with some of those. This is slippery elm. Slippery elm, when you put it in the water, it will get jelly-like. So you want to drink it down fast, or if you leave it there too long, you might not want it. It's still good to drink, but it's going to be so jelly-like you may feel like, I don't know if I want that. So you want to just make sure you drink that down. about a teaspoon, 30 minutes, or a teaspoon to a little bit more, teaspoon to 2 teaspoons, steep 30 minutes, or you don't have to wait the 30 minutes. You just want to make sure you get it down 30 minutes before your meal. So things with certain stomach issues, IBS, almost any stomach issue really, if you drink that before it, it's just smooth. It soothes, and it helps to line your lining, and it just helps to restore that lining. So you want to be consistent with it, but you also want to reason from cause to effect. What things are messing up my digestive system? What things am I eating that may be burning the digestive lining? Because it doesn't matter if I do this, but I'm still doing the things that's causing the problem. So those are the main ones I want to show to you today. One of them that I've heard about a lot, I've never got to use, is guinea hen that y'all have here. This and soursop are really good for cancer and as an immune boost also, but really good for cancer. The soursop leaves in St. Croix, the parents used to use it for the smaller children when they're too active to help them calm down and sometimes go sleep. So that's another thing you can use that for. The leaves also has a sedative effect. So there's so much more we can talk about. I do want to give you just a little bit of time in case there's questions or something that I could be a blessing of. So if there's any questions, you can ask me at this time. Yes, my sister. Yeah. One second. All right, let me just do this quick to finish. You can ask, let me do this quick to finish, and then you could ask your question first. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just asking if any of the herbs you have there are good for menopause.
Now, one thing I want to say about menopause, you do want to understand that you're dealing with hormonal related issues, and there are some hormone herbs that are good. And she didn't pay me to say this, but I would recommend visiting Harmony to really help with hormonal balance, because with menopause and the pain in menopause, hot flashes, things that's associated with it, there are some herbs you can take, but I'm very careful when it comes to female herbs. That's not my expertise, so I don't want to tell you too much about that with female things. Yeah, I do know there is black cohosh and blue cohosh and some things that can be taken, but as dosage and what's proper, I want to make sure you get the best, and that one, I don't want to give you just any answer for that. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to find out, what about habituation and addiction when it comes to these natural products? And I'm going to point you to the soursop leaf, habituation in the use of soursop leaves.
Working. Oh, there it is. I was about to use a lion voice. So basically, are you asking basically if you can get addicted to them, like you could get? So a lot of these herbs are not habit forming. Now, I don't know of any real herbs. I'm not going to say there's none. I never make that statement, but herbs are not really habit forming at all. You use it in terms of, now if I'm somebody who's getting a relief from an herb and I'm keep taking it, and I get a dependency upon it, but that doesn't mean the herb is habit forming, but the results that I'm getting may be something where I associate that herb with the relief and I don't want to let go. But I have never known soursop leaves, and soursop leaves are used heavily in St. Croix, and there is no an addiction to that or anything that I know about. Oh, this gentleman, I could take this off.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the information so far. For the salves and the balms, you said add beeswax to equal 1/4 of the infused oil, but that's just not making sense to me. So how much beeswax are you saying to add to the
So
oil?
a quarter for the amount of so if I have 1 cup, I'm doing 1/4 of a cup of that. If I have 2 cups, it's always going to be a quarter.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then the other question for the fenugreek eye infection recipe, what was that again?
So it's just basically your fenugreek seeds, and you just steep you want to just, so you could use about a teaspoon, and I say measurements, honestly, you just want to make sure you get a infused, as we talked about infused, make a tea of fenugreek, so you can use a teaspoon to a half a cup. The reason we're not doing a teaspoon to a cup is because you want it strong, because you're dealing with either an infection or an eye issue. So you want to do a teaspoon to half a cup of water simmered. You want to maybe 3/4 of a cup because some of it will escape. Keep it covered, and then you just put 2 drops as often as needed. 1 or 2 drops as often as needed to keep it soothed. It's going to bring about a healing. It's very healing. And of course, again, I want to keep emphasizing, you keep going and getting these things checked. Is this working? Is this going forward? Is it progressing right? And if it is, then you can continue. If you're seeing complications or issues, then you discontinue.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Insightful information thus far. My question to you is, are there any herbs for depression? Depression has been taken on by everyone basically because we just get up in the morning, head to work, we barely get time to exercise unless there are staircases. You tend to run those flights. And so what I've noticed is that depression has been, even the youths are undergoing depression. Are there any herbs that you can recommend that can lessen the impact that's happening?
So we will kind of mention some. I won't go too deep in there. Friday night, we will mention some things for that. Now, I do want to keep in mind, when you deal with depression, you're dealing with a mental issue, which you really want to be careful with. And depression is more than herbs. It's really a lifestyle that live. Individuals, you think about people who just doesn't have enough sunlight, their depression rates go up just from sunlight. So are we getting enough sun? And don't assume because I'm in Jamaica, I need to be intentionally getting the sun. But there's a whole lifestyle surrounding, so it's not just, oh, there's an herb. If we just say, oh, there's an herb, we're going to think, oh, that's the solution. And then if the person don't get well, one thing with depression and mental issue, if they don't get well, and they can go into a worse situation. So when you do it, you got to see it as a whole, and they have to work with their doctor as they're making changes. But we will get on that Friday for general how to get about it, because it's a multifactorial diet, exercise, many things. Yeah.
The combination of Guinean weed along with sauerkraut leaf, can they be used separately, or do you have to use both together to get that type of result that you require?
No, they're both. So some herbs are what's called synergistic, and they work well together. So golden seal is a herb that's, it's really expensive, but it's a herb that when it's attached to another herb, it boosts almost 10 times the concentration of that herb, or how powerful that herb is as interacts with the body. So those two together, you can use them together or separate. It just depends what cancer or what immune effects do I want. And so you can do either or. Yeah, basically. There is no, oh, you should or you shouldn't. It's either or combined, it works well. Yeah.
Hi, good evening again.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Is there any herb that you could recommend for the sinuses?
So 2 things I would say when it comes to sinuses. One, you're always looking at what's causing my sinus problem, right? Is it allergies? Is it, if it's inflamed? We're going to actually tomorrow go over hydrotherapy. That's really good for sinusitis. And we'll talk about people who had sinus problems. Now, when it comes to sinus problems or allergies, charcoal is something really good to help any allergic reaction, a lot of allergic reactions. You have herbs. You're going to want to use herbs that's good for the mucous membrane. Mullein is an awesome one. And I'll try to think of some more, but hydrotherapy, are you going to be here tomorrow, God willing?
I hope so, yes.
Yeah, so let me talk to you more, because I'm going to actually show you demonstrations of things you can do for it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good evening. Is there any herb that you could recommend for persons, especially some elderly who have inconsistency problems?
Yeah. So again, we're dealing with principles that's going to help, right? Do they have prostate issues? If it's, in males, of course. Do they have a prostate issues? We got to address the prostate problem. Always ask yourself, where did this start? What's the cause? Once you figure out that, then you start helping the situation. So for instance, if I'm trying to give somebody a diuretic or something that could help the issue, I may not realize, oh, I should have been solving the prostate inflammation. and therefore I'm not helping them. So I would say first the cause, and then there's principles that they're going to want to do to not, not drinking too late. There's certain hydrotherapy treatments that actually helps the overall kidneys, ovaries, bladder, prostate. We'll talk about that in hydrotherapy. So you can help calm that. There are things like Uva Ursi. I don't know if you've ever heard of Uva Ursi. Things like that does help, but I would say that there are some protocols and things. I think chickweed, I believe, is another one that helps with that. There are a few herbs, they're not coming straight to my mind, but there are some overall protocol and lifestyle choices they will need to change. And I could talk to you about that a little bit more.
Yeah, just observation. I mean, just some observation for individuals that they are having problems with urination, specific, of course, males above around 55 years and above. I mean, they should go and check for their prostate, okay? So it's very important to have a screening for the prostate. Specific prostate, I mean enlargement of the prostate and also prostate cancer.
So that's why.
So go to your doctor, get screened. Don't just start taking something because you have. This whole discourse that we are having is designed to be discussed and navigated with your physician. We don't want you to be going home now and self-diagnosing. That's not what we are about. We are wise people. We are evidence-based people. We are sensible people. We are head and not tail. God says you must be wise. You need to go to your doctor. Get your regular checkups. Every year you get your checkups. Start with your children getting checkups. Get children into the habit of getting checkup. So your teenagers start going one every year. Get to their doctor to get them screened and get them assessed. Like how you get your dentist every 6 months and that sort of thing. So everybody in here should be going to their doctor to get their screenings for the various cancer or the various things that could happen at the age that they are at for the age-appropriate checkup. When you know that something is wrong, then if you know that, I'm not sleeping good, and you go to your doctor and you discuss all of these things and you know that you could help whatever you and the doctor spoke to about with something like soursop. You don't stay home and just start drink soursop, so. Okay? So we just want to caution you. Caution.
Okay, so two-part question. First of all, in relationship to use of turmeric and ginger, when these are obtained in the wherever the market or health food store, they have quite a bit of soil on them. My question is, how much cleaning is enough? What do you do to clean it? Do you strip off the skin or just wash it in a little water and leave the skin on?
Exactly. You just wash it off, brush it off, wash it off. You don't have to do deep scrubbing unless you don't trust the source it's coming from. But you just wash it off and you can use it as normal, yep.
And you don't worry about the residual dirt?
Once it's just residual dirt. If it's like pesticides and stuff like that, you definitely want to either avoid it, the best case. But if you don't have a choice, peel off the skin, and then you can use that.
Quite a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you just get it where you know it's grown and it just has a little residual, then you just brush it off. It doesn't take long at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
And H. pylori, do you have any answers to that?
Yeah. Cabbage juice has been a really good one for H. pylori. H. pylori has an outer shell that's hard for the digestion to break down, the acids in the stomach. But when you drink cabbage juice, about half a cup of cabbage juice twice a day, it really helps break down the shell. The president of Uchee Pines, he had the same problem with H. pylori, and on just 3-4 days on cabbage juice, you see a huge difference. Now, everybody's body is different. So I say 3-4 days. Don't think, nothing happened in 3-4 days. You try it, right? So cabbage juice is really good for that, yep. Yep. So with that, just because of time, I know we could go on. Come tomorrow, God willing, and you're going to see. I just want to share with you this last slide. We still so much more we could talk about. These are just some books that has a lot of things with herbal remedies. The little book, Herb Encyclopedia. I'll just give you 30 seconds to take that, and then we'll end with one slide and call it a night for now. So I'm guessing you got that right. Did you get it? And this is going to be recorded, by the way, so you can see it. Yep. And then, oh, I'm sorry. Yep, go for it. Now, these are very studied herbs, and they tell you in all of these some of the same safety guidelines I shared with you in the beginning. You always cooperate and work alongside. Anytime you add anything into your regimen, you work alongside with your doctor, and you make those changes together. So you got that? Just one last slide for you. Now, I would say if you had to ask me which one is the best one, if you just choose one, it would be the first one, the Little Herb Encyclopedia. That one is really, really good. There's also one in your backyard. That's a really good one. I thought I had it up. Okay. Oh, sorry. You good? Everybody good now? Okay. 10 more seconds. Okay. So I wanted to bring this quote to you to end. It says, God's miracles do not always bear the outward semblance of miracles. We answer our own prayers by using the remedies within our reach. In other words, when God says, oh, Lord, I need a miracle for something, many times he points, as he did to Hezekiah, right? Natural means used in accordance with God's will bring about what? Supernatural results. So when we do any of these things, what should we add on? We should pray. So every time you're doing these things, ask God's blessing upon it. Ask God to bless it because he's the true healer. This is a medium, a vehicle for God's mercy to bless you. So when he says the earth for the service of man, this is just a medium for you to receive the blessings, but don't forget who truly bring about healing. It's the Lord God himself. No man can bring healing. God always brings healing, but he uses mediums. So that's what we have to remember. We ask for a miracle, and the Lord directs the mind to some simple remedy. Many times, and this is what we find at Uchee Pines, many times the remedy is simple. There's complications in the many, but many times the remedy is simple. So with that, we're going to end there. And there's so much more. So we're going to tomorrow, God willing, another workshop on hydrotherapy will be from 5 to 6 p.m.